All right, guys, like I said, I was going to use the Hscope and Hs512 to check the secondary ignition on a coil-over plug. And I figured it'd be a good time if you're looking for people looking for low-budget scopes. I mean, if there's interest in this, there's the Hscope also. This I've had about 3 years. I mean, this is the fastest scope you'll ever use, but it's one channel. And it does have its own learning curve that's, you know, like how I'm learning how to use the Hscope software now. This took a while. That's why I'm started out hooking up the good things. This Toyota, it's getting a camshaft too retarded code, and this would be a good time to actually use the pressure transducer, because that's one of the reasons why I needed the 2-channel scope and I wanted to go to a different platform. Is my only other scope's 8-channel, the Hanktek, 1008. So everybody kind of makes a mistake again. It's I was going to do it with 2, but it's grounded. It did me wrong today. I mean, I had an issue with this getting secondary ignition with a pickup like this, so I plugged it in. I did get a license for it to use it with Hscope, but the results weren't. I'll show you what I mean, but I believe it's a sampling rate that, it's the same bit as this scope, but this one looks a lot sweeter, even running through Hscope, so it's grounded. This is tried and true. I've used this a million times, and I'll show you how fast it is to get a coil on plug. I don't think anything will beat this in speed, but you do need 2 channels a lot, especially for transducers, and they're the way of the future, especially with timing. I mean, we got to be able to see these valves. And if this camshaft is actually off, I don't know if we could see it, because there shouldn't be a sensor on the exhaust cam, because it only has one variable valve phaser. So it's on the intake cam. So there's no phaser on the exhaust cam. So I believe there won't be a cam sensor on it. So I won't be able to trigger off that sensor. So the only way thinking, I'm sure there's more than one way, but the way I'm thinking, things I just got the transducer, I just use an Hscope, got 2 channels. I could put it down there, have one channel for a sync. I could at least, even if nothing looks wrong to my eye, I at least see what it looks like. And then if there's a correction, like a timing chain, then I see what it looks like, known good. And then that's what it's all about. If you're in a hurry, you're going to make mistakes. These are the things that take time, and you just got to get time to get familiar with it. All right, this is the paddle probe that comes with the AESWave, the master kit. And it broke, so I'm not going to be able to show that, but it was not the fault of the paddle probe. It's the mini BNC connector. It must have got crushed in one of the box lids. It was pretty flattened out. I mean, it's not something that naturally happened to it, or it didn't quit, but I'll keep it, either put another mini on it, or I know you could get the full-size BNCs. I'm sure there's got to be minis available. Maybe not as common, but they got to be out there. So the test with the AESWave UScope, I'm going to just be using the same Hanktek, the coil on plug paddle. All right, guys, let me get that set up, and I'll turn around, and then I'll just show you a little side-by-side comparison with them and see how the Hscope really does on COP coils. Okay, guys, first up, we're going with the AESWave, the UScope, and we're going with the Hanktek, the coil over plug paddle. There's a lot of videos out there on how to build your own. I kept using this one instead of building my own, just because of the flexibility of this. It'll get under intakes, it'll get around fuel rail runners. I mean, I'm sure there's a way you could build your own with a flexible innard, but one thing I did notice is this is still the HT25. This is the same settings as the secondary ignition pickup that goes over the wires. They got the same numbers, so I imagine just what they're using as a resistor in there is the same thing. So it's going to be the same setup. We're going to get the same readings as we do with the coil over a spark plug wire, or coil and spark plug wire rather, that you just clip the inductive clamp over the spark plug wire. This goes directly on top. That's why I figure this is a nice easy one to get to. This is a Toyota. It's a 1.8 liter, and we got the coils right there in the open. So what I'm going to do first is, this is one reason. This is a mini BNC, and it's an adapter to go to regular full-size BNC. I'm hoping to find, because I did break the paddle probe that comes with it, I'm hoping to find a couple of these, so I can repair cords, because that's one downfall with this. Your other scope, you're going to have BNC accessories. The mini BNCs, that's what this runs on, so you have to convert everything. In my little box, I have, this is a mini BNC, and it'll give you test leads. But if, something goes wrong with that, you can't just grab a cord from your regular scope with the full size. But the speed of this thing is what is hard to beat. As soon as it comes on, what you do is you go, for this particular one, we're going to go to menu, hold it. We're going to go down to presets, hit it, go down, ignition. And up top here, if we wanted to switch, we could switch to the different kind. But this is going to give me forward coil over plug. So it's going to show me a triple strike pattern. Now that's just a preset. That's a reference wave. So what you could do is go back in the menu, go back down to preset, show reference, and just hold the OK button. Disappears. And that's literally how quick you're already going to find a misfire with this. Let me see if I could get a little bit better than the shot there, what I'm doing, and actually hold the scope first. This car's cold, so it's going to have high idle. So we literally got a pattern already. Now the trigger's on the signal capture. On the bottom, it's on hold. You have auto and you have normal. But if we're going for normal, just to normalize the waveform, tell you what, let me just lay this on the hood and I'll hold the front. Okay, so all we're doing is we're just touching it. There's our waveform. Now I'll go to the next one. Now I'll go to the next one. Now I'll go to the next one. Okay, that was all 4 coils. And what we'd be doing now is if we had a miss, you could do a lot with that. And what you're doing is you're looking for a misfire, you're looking for something that's really out of the ordinary. And that was all 4 coils again. This was the one I was talking about that I knew from previously. See, there's no oscillations at the end, very few. And there's very little leftover power. Now we move to another one. Look at the oscillations at the end of that waveform. And there we go, down to hardly any. So it's pretty neat. It picked up the same thing I picked up with a different scope. But That's just what your secondary ignition looks like. You get pretty good detail for a little scope. It's that fast to set up. I mean, you could tell a rich condition, you could tell a lean condition, how the spark's firing. You could actually drop cursors on. It does have a math channel. You can move the waveform up, you can move the waveform down, you can move it left, right. You could set the trigger anywhere you want. As far as a single channel budget scope, I've seen a bunch being reviewed on YouTube, and you know, in my opinion, there's nothing that could hold a torch at Hscope. Most of what you see is this Hscope in another package, either a bigger package like this, like, you know, a handheld one with different buttons. They put the buttons different places, whatever. They use this same Chinese scope. But what AESWave does is they take this and they turn this into decent automotive software. Like, you're not just setting up a regular oscilloscope, you already got some presets for automotive, and like that fast. You could be checking coil on plugs and finding a miss. All right, next I'm going to set up the Hscope with the same paddle on Hs512. So what I'm going to use, we should be able to get a very good pattern with it too. But I was just showing you, this is my first scope, and it's 3 years old, and I beat the living hell out of it. It's still here. One thing I can tell you where this thing does fall short, I feel I should add, is wheel speed sensors. Some of them it picks up, but a lot of them it don't. I had a lot of trouble on Fords picking them up. I mean, it's a very low voltage, and you'd think that would be a perfect single channel scope for that, but it's hit or miss with it. But on the coilover plug, this is the kind of things that helps you find. That thing was carbon tracking the whole way down the side of it, and the whole way down the side of the plug, and it was firing on the outside. But then these are out of a different vehicle, but of 6-cylinder. But that's what you're looking for, and that's what helps you find very fast. Well, next I'm going to start the car, and we're going to use the Hscope with the same paddle probe. Okay, it's the same paddle probe. I'm going to hold them over the cylinders, but I'm going to could use a screen recorder, but the tripod's right here. We could just get you guys up. Well, that makes the glare worse. We're going to keep it here. And the fan's coming on, of course, but okay, now I'm going to do the same thing. You turn the headlights off, my stuff's on the Apparently you can't shut them the whole way down while it's running, but you'll get the idea of it. Now switch coils, there's one coil. There's another coil. Another coil. And there's the last coil. Now you can put a trigger, this is still on the oscilloscope mode. You can put a trigger on, you can put an auto trigger if you want it to normalize and have it on channel 2 and run it. You can raise your trigger to wherever you want it. And it's going to hold it right there. Now, that's a pretty damn good waveform. Now we're getting a little bit too out of control here. You could put it on a single trigger, you could put it on a normalizing trigger or an auto trigger. And that's on the oscilloscope mode. Now what we could do is go to the automotive module if we wanted to record this. I'm not sure what kind of filter it's on it now. It's inverted and that's all. We're going to just start it. We have 12 minutes and 48 seconds in the buffer. You can see from this position it doesn't seem. Oh well, we got 1 millisecond per division first off, and this scale, well, we'll keep it on 32 for right now. Record again. Then you could check several coils and have it in the buffer down here. So when you stop, should be able to zoom in. Now this is either regular coil interference around it, or it's the same thing susceptible to the electromagnetic interference, the EMI. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm at it, just for future reference, I'm going to put the times 10 attenuator on there and see what we get, see if it's the same thing, you know, see if that helps us with some of this noise too. No, the attenuator made no difference. It would actually make it harder to pick up a waveform. So I just went back to the automotive module just with the regular. Put in there what I'm using and then start. Then you could go from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then stop the recording. And then as we see all these events we got on the bottom. Now let me shut the car off and I'll go through something I think is interesting anyway. With the Hscope software, the volume up button, it'll leave you, well, it's not running now, but if you're recording and you hit the volume up, it'll leave a mark. So you can mark where you're at. And also, Martin Lauren, he also sells on his site, this is a ring that'll do the same thing through Bluetooth. So if you were switching one coil, like say this was number 1 coil, and then we were switching a number 2 coil, you could trigger, you could hit this button or hit volume up. And if you were under the hood, this button's going to come in, yeah, much more convenient. And I believe the button on any Bluetooth headphones that are plugged in, possibly even, you know, plugged ones, but the volume up button on your Bluetooth headphones should put a trigger or a flag where you mark. So if you're going from cylinder to cylinder, you'll know the first one, cylinder 1, hit it twice, or, you know, just put marks where you want it. Now that was one interesting thing, and the more I play with the software, Now we could see, I mean, it depends how you like looking at your pattern. You could do your measurements, like you can measure, if you want to measure the burn time, and that's always a good way. You know, rule of thumb somewhere around a millisecond. But you want to make sure, you know, good healthy engine that can burn, it's running good. You want to make sure its burn lines, I mean, we're up here, this is 2.02 milliseconds. I mean, that might be Toyota strategy, you know, but you can measure every coil on here if you want to. And when you're done with these markers, all you do is flick them off the screen and they go away. I actually had to ask that question because I tried everything. Tried double clicking the buttons. I was looking for buttons everywhere. Asked the question on the Telegram group and I had an answer in a minute. And now one thing I found that might be of interest to some people is like the thickness of the line that you're working with. I have it on 2 DP. You could go to 4, which I'm sure is going to be too much, but this is just the maximum. Like if you can't tell, and this I believe that's interference coming in, but just if we were measuring, I'm not sure which coil this is, so down the bottom I'm going to go way, I'm going to go way to the beginning. I'm going to just move it along the bottom, because I know this, the first one we see is going to be a different coil. Okay, now this one, if we wanted to measure the burn time, oh, that's horizontal. See, I don't want this. Flip them off the screen. Another vertical one. 1.59. One's a replacement coil, one's a Toyota coil. Does that tell us anything? Yeah, it could. I'm going to get rid of these cursors. If you wanted anywhere, the smallest you could go is 1 DP. I mean, that's the narrowest line you could get. And I mean, some people might like that. 2 looked a little bit more acceptable to me. And I like the looks of 2, the little bit thicker line without going, you know, actually blurring some of your detail. And one other thing, if you don't like the screen color, I've noticed that you could change the screen color and make that's on green there. Some people might like the white for, you know, other reasons. Now you could change the color of your actual line too. For channel 1, it's yellow right now. If we were going to use the white and we wanted that blue, so now channel 1, we're leaving a blue line. I mean, it's I like it. Every now and again you find a feature for it that you weren't aware of. Like I got the ring, and then later on I realized, well, I'd have probably still got the ring because that's better under the hood anyways. But, you know, a Bluetooth volume up, you're going to be able to leave flags. I didn't think of that until after I already did that, or I'd have been flagging it as I want just to show you, but I'm sure we're going to use it. And that's all I wanted to basically do, is just show you both ways, because I was kind of curious, because I had the trouble with the secondary pickup lead over a spark plug wire, if I was going to have the same trouble with this. I used it one other time with it and I didn't see it, and it didn't knock me off. I didn't lose none of my pattern. I mean, before with putting the pickup over the wire, that it would have did it already. So we're good. But what I'm going to do now is this car, like I was saying, it has a camshaft coat on it. The camshaft, it's saying that the exhaust cam is over retarded. So normally, I mean, it's not hard to take off the valve cover, confirm your timing, but something like this is there's actually going to be a fault. So what I want to do is, being I have, you know, I'm using new software, I do have the new pressure transducer. What I want to do is to use the pressure transducer, see if I could see if the timings, we're not going to be able to see the timing because the sensor's only on the intake cam. So I could put the firing event in there, but it's only going to give us the top dead center. Might be a way to figure out what the exhaust, but basically what I want to do is get a waveform of the end cylinders. The pressures, I want to see the compression ratio. Or not the ratio, I want to see how much compression it has in PSI. And then I also want to see if after it's corrected with either a new timing chain or new phaser, what's going to change this, and then what the waveform's going to look like fixed. Just so we see enough fixed ones out there, we want to see just if we could tell something's off with the exhaust cam with a transducer. So all right, guys, that's going to be the next one as I go along. But, hope I gave you a little bit of direction. If you're considering these two scopes, I mean, they both performed excellent on a coilover plug. So does the Hanktek, but that I've used it on there before, the 1008C. It does very good on that. This isn't a very in-depth thing for an oscilloscope to do. So if you have the Hanktek, it's great for this. Some of the things where it got me in trouble. Well, not in trouble. I was just mad at it yesterday because when I was having that trouble with the pickup on the spark plug wire, I switched to the Hanktek to see if I could, with the Hscope software, and what it did is its buffer must be so short that it automatically went to pages. So it's very hard to see in real time. I mean, it was just... I might have had to, whenever you switch into Hscope, if you have like another oscilloscope, it's a great program to use with a Hanktek, but I didn't get that curve down yet to where could I have made that any better. I just know a lot of the selections weren't there that's there whenever I have the Hs512 plugged in, and it wasn't recording the same. It would have taken much too longer to just get the hang of what I was doing with it. But for this, it would have worked fine. I have no doubt of that. It's only going to work better with Hscope, and it works great with Windows for that. All right, guys, so next time I'll see you, we'll be putting the transducer down this Toyota, see what it has to tell us. All right, adios.